Hello folks, Chad Stanton here, a professional furniture maker of over 20 years, sharing my experiences with you. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you a bad chair design and how we can make it better. So before we get going in today's video, I do have a correction of something that I said in the last video. See, I was talking about these chairs and I said how the original is in the Museum of Modern Art there in New York City. Well, a viewer of the show, Mark McClooney, he pointed out that actually the rebuilt chair is the one that's in the museum. These chairs here are largely based after the one in the museum. These are the Wave Hill chairs. And the Wave Hill is a park and a garden there in the Bronx. And a pair of these chairs are there. Now that park or garden, they actually sell these plans online that you can purchase. And that's what my customer did. He liked the look of these chairs so much, he bought the plans and asked me to build it. Now originally I wasn't going to film making these chairs, but once I started getting into it, I realized there were things about it I didn't like and I was going to make some changes. So let's get into it right from the beginning. The first change and problem that I had is with the plans. Alright, so at first glance of the plans here, this one here, it's telling you the different parts to it, and then looking at the drawings, I don't know, I just feel like it's got measurements on there, but I feel like it's missing some stuff, or I'm gonna have to do a little math to figure out some of the missing dimensions, and it really comes clear on this version here of it. For example, it's telling me the full width of the back. Doesn't list this, but I imagine that's probably in the parts list. It's not giving me what this space is or what this space is, but again, I imagine by doing a little math, if I take this part on the description list, subtract what the arms are, subtract what these pieces are, I imagine it'll give me the distance there. And if I had to guess, I'd say that that's 1 inch and this is 3/4, but I don't really know. I'll figure that out and let you know as we go along. So in the directions, it does give me the parts, the measurements for it, and it tells me some of the assembly for the lower half. And what they're telling me is for these joints here, for these legs and the supports and the stretchers, they're simply saying to screw that together with some deck screws. So that doesn't seem secure for me. Let me show you what I'm going to do. So according to their plans, they simply want me to essentially do like a butt joint and then countersink some screws going down into this, and they don't even recommend using glue. Maybe they just assume you're gonna, which I highly would recommend. But to me, I still don't like this. I don't think this is good enough for me. So here's what I'm doing to make it a little bit better. So I've put an 1/8 inch dado on each of the pieces. This would be the leg, and then here is one of the stretchers or the lower supports. And this way, that it's 1/8 inch deep, it'll form essentially a partial half lap joint, if you will. And that's gonna keep it from racking. I'm also gonna glue that and countersink a screw in there, and then I'll probably cover the screw head with some kind of plug. Another thing that I'm doing to it is the edges, especially the bottom, like the feet, I'm chamfering the corners on them. The reason for this is if this is to be pushed across a deck, or heaven forbid something like with stone or concrete, if that square edge, this square edge, it would definitely rip the corner, tear that edge off. So by putting the chamfer on there, that's going to help prevent it. And I also think too that this is, I'm doing it to all the pieces. All the pieces will have this slight chamfer. I think it'll just be another little detail that'll make the chair overall look a little better. So I will keep building this and give you updates of either the changes or problems that I'm finding. I thought I'd take a second and show you my setup for making this little dado notch in it. So to start with, I have a stacked dado set up in here, and this is a 1/2 inch. I always kind of just keep it at 1/2 inch, and I have it raised up 1/8 of an inch. The other thing that I'm using to make a simple sled, I've got 2 miter gauges here screwed to a scrap piece of wood, and I've gone through and already made a cut on the sacrificial board. And then I have just a scrap piece of wood and a clamp to act as a stop block. So let me zoom in and show you how to get a super precise fit for these. All right, so here's how I'm going to get a super precise fit on this dado to where my pieces will lock together and fit snug. I need a couple of scrap pieces of wood. The first one is a piece of cutoff from this material here, this leg. All right, so we're going to use that. The other thing I want to do is on the sacrificial board where I went through, I transferred my pencil lines up. So the setup for this is, here's another leg. I need to cut this material out. The setup is I want to take this line here at the top, and I want to line it with this edge, this left edge of the where the dado goes through. I line that up, and then with this scrap piece of wood, I'm going to put that in there. I move the stop block over to it and lock that down. And then I can go through, take this out, holding that in there, I can go through and make the first cut. Now, it would seem that since this scrap block is the same size of what I want, and I put it there, you would think that, well, oh, I'll just push this all the way over and make my next cut. But if I do that, you'll see that I'm too much. So what I need second is this is some 1/2 inch plywood, and that is the same thickness as my 1/2 inch stacked dado blade. And so what this would do then, this goes in next. This makes the cut at the other pencil line, the pencil line to my right, and then I can remove that, and then I can just cut down the middle and take out the rest of the waste. And that way, not only are they always in the same position each time for each leg, but they're also the exact same size as my leg for a really nice fit. I'll tell you what, doing that little bit of overlap on it really makes this thing tight, firm, and square. Plus, I think it's a nice little detail. I actually think it makes the design look better. So I did drill countersink holes on the back side here for the screws. I didn't glue this up yet because I had a feeling I was going to find a few more things to change and a couple of things I didn't like. And let me show you the next thing I really don't care for. So according to the plans, the back goes in like this. And the way it hits right here, I really don't like that. See, looking at it close up here, I really don't like how this back is just barely touching on the corner of this. And according to the directions, you're supposed to screw in from the front and go into that. I just don't think that's going to be very solid for me. So let me show you how I plan to fix that. So once again, here's another angle shot of the back, just resting on this. Doesn't seem right to me. So what I did was I took a scrap piece of wood, same size as this piece here, and I've notched it out so that the back will be housed in that, giving me a lot more of a flat surface to screw it to, more support. But if you notice this angle, it's not like just a 45 degrees or something. In fact, I don't even know what this angle is. But let me show you how I figured this out. Okay, to give you an idea what I've done here, I've actually measured out and drew the chair. As you can see, this is the back, this is that middle, and the front leg. And I've measured exactly, just like off the chair there, where the supports are. So what I'm going to do next is, I know the back is going to touch on that corner and go to this corner down here. So I'm going to draw a line connecting that. Now what I'm going to do is, I want the back to set into these supports by 1/2 inch. So I'm simply just going to measure over from that line 1/2 inch. And now I'll connect to that line. All right, so let me get you a close-up of this right here. So the dashed line is representing where the new chair back is going to be resting. And all I simply have to do is take these dimensions, which is about, it's about 1 inch, and that's about 3/8, and put that on my block, the support, and cut that out. So here's where I'm at so far. You can see I got one side done. I have the other side to go. And this actually went pretty fast and really easy. So the first thing I did was I took my saw and I cut down to where each of those pencil lines were. I did that on the ends. Then I took a draw knife and I was able to remove most of the waste, got it real close to those lines. And then I finished up with the Shinto rasp and just smoothed it down, made it flat, and it should be perfect. If you're interested in any of these tools, make sure you check out the link below in the description box. It has these and others that I enjoy using all the time in the shop. Okay, I'll work on the other one and then put it back in the chair. So once again, you can see how this is in place. This is notched in. I even went ahead and put a little bevel here on the edge. I just think, again, it softens that edge a little bit. And then I can place the other board in. So getting these two back pieces to be at the exact height, it actually is important, and it can be a little bit tricky because there's nothing at the bottom holding it. But I have a cool little trick that I'll show you. So since these backs don't actually go all the way to the floor, they are flush with the bottom of this stretcher here. What I did was I temporarily just screwed a piece of plywood from the bottom here, and that allows me to be able to put the back pieces on. So they're both flush at the top, and then I can put my screws in it, and I'm good to go. So I'm sitting back in my chair jig. Now, why am I doing that? Well, this jig allows me to change different angles. I can change the angle of the back, I can change the height and the angle of the seat, as well as the height and the angle of the arms. Now, according to the plans, it's supposed to be 26 inches from the floor to the bottom side of the armrest. And then you add in the armrest, which is another 3/4 of an inch. So we're looking at almost 27 inches off the ground. Now, what does that mean? Well, a good chair design, it should be from the bottom of the seat to the top of the arm 8 to 10 inches. In this case, this setup is over 12 inches. Now on this side of the jig, I lowered the arm down 2 inches. And what does that do for me? Well, when I sit in this chair at this height for any length of time, after about 10 minutes, my shoulder gets tired and I wind up putting it down in my arm, in my laps. What good is a chair with armrests if you don't use them? With this side being 2 inches lower, take notice how my shoulders drop. Virtually nothing on this side, which makes it a lot more comfortable to sit in for any length of time. However, changing this 2 inches, well, it turned out to be a little bit trickier than I initially thought. So let's review one more time what I have here. The red line is what the plans originally called for the angle of the chair back. I notched it down into the back supports by 1/2 inch, thereby simply moving consistently down 1/2 inch. The seat to back angle did not change at all. Now, the top of the leg and the back support are what the armrest will mount to. And I want to bring this down 2 inches, and it's not quite as simple as cutting the back leg and moving the back support down 2 inches, because here's what happens. By moving this down, the chair back at the bottom support will stay the same, but the angle at the top changes. So my seat to back angle has drastically changed. It doesn't look like much, but it did. So I set this angle back up in my chair jig, and when I sat in it, it was not comfortable. It was too much. So I really do want to keep this angle, but somehow I have to get this back to be supported on this back piece here. So let me show you what I wound up doing. All right, once again, from my full-size plans, I was able to figure out the angle and notch the back support. And then what I was able to do, again on the plans, I was able to measure the distance from that back, where it should be, to the support. And it was simply just making a spacer block that goes in there, and that now kept the angle exactly the same but brought this forward to meet the back. So the chair is made out of mahogany, which already has kind of like a red hue to it, but the customer wanted it darker. So I got some Crystal-Lac cherry stain, and then I mixed with it. They sell individual dyes, and so this is a brown that I added to it to give me the color that you see here. Now these chairs are going to be used outside, so I had to make sure I got a good protective top coat on it. So I used first their sanding sealer, and then I sprayed it with 7 coats of their crab coat exterior finish. And I used the Earlex spray gun system, which is great. It puts it on super smooth, and when it dries, it's rock hard. Okay, I have one more tip that I want to share with you to say that these chairs are done. So I mentioned these chairs are going to be outside, and I don't know if they're going to be sitting in the yard or if they're going to be on some kind of deck. But this is something I like to do with any project that I know is going to be sitting outside on the grass. So I got the chair completely turned over here, and what I want to use is some water resistant or waterproof glue. In this case, I'm using this Gorilla white PVA glue. And what I'll do is I'll put a little on the end grain here to help seal it so it doesn't try and wick and soak up water. Now, I have to admit, if this is going on a wooden deck or some kind of like stone pavers, it's probably going to scratch off pretty quick. But regardless, I don't know, so just to be on the safe side, I'm going to seal up that end grain. Well, there you go. That's my video of the changes that I made on the Wave Hill chair. I hope that was interesting to you and that you were able to learn something from it that might help you on your future projects. Now, in some upcoming videos, the next one will be Should You Own It? It'll be a short video. It's just going to highlight and feature a tool that I like to commonly use here in my shop, and I think you'll find it beneficial to have in your collection as well. But then after that, I need your help again. I'm trying to decide if, one, I do a video where Dennis Laney and I take an old hand plane and completely tear it down, clean it up, tune it up, and put it back into use. Would you like to see a step-by-step of that? Or would you like to see a geometry video that could aid you and help you in some of your woodworking projects? So just let me know down there in the comments whether it be hand plane or geometry. And just like before, we'll let you, the viewers, decide. Of course, if you're interested in any of my suggested tools or suggested reading, there's some links below in the description. It'll take you right to the website, and you can browse through that list. Also, too, don't forget about our free monthly newsletter. It goes out once a month, and again, you can sign up for that below in the description box. And of course, if you have any questions on a project you're building in your shop, well, feel free to write me at woodshopintime@gmail.com. Because after all, my whole goal is to make you a better woodworker. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. Keep on dancing.